Hi, good morning. Welcome everyone to today's webinar. Just going to start off with some housekeeping and want to welcome you to the webinar today. We are going to have a live Q&A at the end of the presentation. So we do ask if you can please type your questions in the chat. And today's presentation is being recorded and will be emailed to you along with this presentation. Next slide, please.
Oops, we skipped a slide. There we go. Sorry.
No problem. So before we get started, we would just like to take a quick poll. We would like to know, do you have a business idea? And question 2, are you in business? And the last question is, did you start a business during the pandemic? So we'll give you a few seconds to answer that. The answers are coming in fast. All right, thank you. I'll go ahead and share the results here for everyone. So let's see, 86% of you have a business idea, 71% of you are not in business, and 86% of you did not start a business during the pandemic. So awesome. Thank you for taking the time to do that poll. On the next slide, I will go ahead and turn this over to our speaker and facilitator today, Rieva Lesonsky, so we can go ahead and get started. Thank you, Rieva, for your time. So turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Christina. Hi, everybody. I am going to talk today about what's hot for this year, business markets and trends. This is who I am. As Christina said, my name is Rieva Lesonsky. My company name is Grow Biz Media. Our website is Small Business Currents. It's a website full of small business information updated every day, several times a day. We have a Currents newsletter. It takes you less than 5 minutes to read. It goes out every Wednesday, most times, sometimes Thursday if I'm caught up in something, but it just talks about a current trend. It's what's going on. You can, if you have any questions, there's my email. Just tell me you saw me here on this presentation, or you can ask me a question on Twitter. Those are the ones I'm really responsive about. I check the other social media platforms, but Twitter's the one I'm always on. Okay, so there's a lot of information. We're going to get started. Questions at the end. My slide decks are really packed with info, so you can look at it. Their score will give you access to the slide deck. So you can look at it 3 months from now and not try to remember what I have to say. You can just see it there. So we're 3, almost 4 months into 2022. Is it going to be a year of recovery or discovery? We still actually don't know. But what we do know is that, well, we're going to examine different businesses, but in retail, we are now open for business. Things have come back to the point where people are spending. You can see this consumer spending forecast for this year. We're going to hit 13.7 trillion. Going into next year, it looks like it goes up you know, a substantial amount every year. So consumers are spending, which is good for us, small business owners. These numbers were just released last week by the National Retail Federation. They predict every year what they think retail sales are going to be. And they're saying sales are going to grow 6 to 8%, possibly hitting $4.95 trillion. That is all retail. So e-commerce is a part of that. That is expected to grow even more, 11 to 13%, to hit 1.17 trillion. Last year was the first time e-commerce sales topped $1 trillion. And last year, 14% growth in retail, the highest number in the last 20 years. So retail has made a really healthy recovery. We're far ahead of pre-pandemic numbers. So NRF has some insight. They said right now consumers are ready to spend and they have the resources to do so. They have money in their pockets and they're looking to spend it. There are some cautions. People, inflation, still COVID-19, there's talk about some new surge coming, and geopolitical threats, sort of like what's going on right now. But NRF said the consumer fundamentals are in place, household finances are healthy and strong, and wage growth should support solid growth. And the one thing that we've seen, as you'll see through the presentation, that if people can't get to a store, they no longer let that stop them. They're ready to shop online, which is e-commerce, right? So commerce is everything. E-commerce is commerce that happens electronically. So that's whether it's a computer, a phone, a tablet, it's where people are ordering online. And you can look at e-commerce sales. This is from eMarketer, and you can see how eMarketer expects them to grow as and take a bigger and bigger percentage of retail sales. But also, as much as we talk about it, it's still by the end of 2025 still projected to be at that point only about a quarter of all retail sales. So people are still shopping in stores. They're happy to shop in stores. So don't worry about it. M-commerce. So we have commerce, and then we have e-commerce, and then we have M-commerce, which is mobile commerce. This is commerce that happens over a phone or a tablet, right? So the reason it started getting separated out several years ago is that a lot of small businesses, while they sort of at that point said, oh, okay, I'll build a website, the websites were not responsive, right? So if somebody went to order on their phone, it wasn't navigating. People know that better now. Web hosts know that, designers know it better. So almost every website that is designed to be online automatically is optimized for mobile. But you can see a growing increase again in people using their phones and tablets to order. Phones are bigger, they're easier to manipulate. So how big is M-commerce? Because some people say, yeah, how many people are actually ordering on their phone? Well, you can see last year it was almost well, I don't say almost 400 billion, but it was 359 billion in sales. So that's a lot of money. And they're saying it's going to nearly double between now and 2025, which is only 3 years from now. So that's a lot of money in a pretty short period of time. What's driving it? New technologies, new channels of business. And truthfully, it's a lot of the phone companies, right? They're investing in their hardware, making it easier for consumers to use. What does this mean? It means that as retailers, as businesses, and this is, I keep saying retailers, everybody, whether you're a retailer, a service provider, a dentist, whatever you are, you have to have your website easy to use on mobile devices, because that's where people are searching, and buying. Search is enormous on mobile devices. That's where people turn to and increasingly order from. So click and collect. So that's a part of E and M commerce. Click and collect grew from 22 billion in 2018, pre-pandemic, right, to over 83 billion in 2021. It's now 10% of e-commerce sales. Sort of, it was always there. Yeah, pickup, particularly, restaurants, you could come by, but click and collect includes things like curbside pickup, takeout, buy online, as you'll see on the next slide, buy online, pick up in store. So click and collect is the overall name, and you can see how what the growth, and you see how that just zoomed up in 2020 at the start of the pandemic, right? So that's really where it came from. People couldn't go to stores, didn't want to go to stores that they could go to. So they started ordering online, picking up in store, or curbside pickup. The International Council of Shopping Centers said over 50% of adult shoppers use BOPUS. BOPUS, again, buy online, pick up in store. So that's putting your order online and going into the store to pick them up. And 67% of those shoppers added additional items to their cart when they know they can get them immediately. So there's a lot of advantages to this for consumers, convenience being one of them. Outdoor retail is hot. We just covered that in our newsletter like 2 weeks ago. So it's we're very lucky in California here, where we have a lot of outdoor centers, because we're about to hit the sadly the end of our rainy season. So we basically have great weather all year round, but outdoor retail is hot everywhere in the country. As a native New Yorker, I don't quite get it because I don't want to shop outside in February, but partly the outdoor centers are a lot easier to make space for buy online, pick up in store, and curbside pickup. So here are the advantages of BOPIS. For business owners, you get to monetize your existing retail footprint, right? You're not adding another store, you're not adding anything, you're just possibly, I mean, if you're smart, you will, taking some parking spaces in front of your store and reserving them for curbside pickup, right? So it's just, you put some signs up. We've all seen it. A lot of the bigger companies are doing it and said, you know, reserve for curbside pickup. Then they call you when they get there and you bring the order to the car. It requires fewer resources than delivery. You're not relying on any third-party providers. It's convenient, it's free to customers, which they really like, and you can launch it quickly. All you really need is software that shows the consumer when they go on your website what you have in stock, because you do not want them to order something and show up at the store to pick it up and it not to be there. What do consumers like it? They're not paying for shipping, right? You'll see further on, the one thing consumers hate about shopping online is shipping costs. So if they don't have to pay for shipping because they're just driving to the store, they're happy with that. They don't have to wait for the item to ship. There's no wondering about, is it going to make it in time? They're not worried about porch theft, you know, package thieves stealing stuff off their porch. They can check the order, return it right away if there's something wrong, exchange it right away if there's something wrong. So there's no time lag anywhere. They can use promo codes on the order. Another thing you'll see throughout the day, people want deals. They're looking for promotions. So then there's social commerce. So what social commerce is actually buying through a social platform. So it's not just going on Facebook or Instagram, which, as you can see, are the biggest places that people buy from, not just going on there to talk to friends or follow a news feed or see pictures of the grandkids or whatever. People are going on there to buy product, to see product, to be introduced to product, and they're buying straight from that platform. So in the old days, meaning like 2 years ago, we used to say, okay, here's your social platform, use it to drive traffic to your store or to drive traffic to your website, and you should still use it for that. And in our next seminar next month, we're going to talk about that. But also you can use it right then and there to get people to shop right from there. So shopping is set, they say. This is a report from Marketing Drive and Accenture. It's a new way of shopping, right? You can see global social commerce sales, how much they grew. It's expected to hit over $1 trillion just from that in 2025. Driven, of course, by millennials and Gen Z. They're our two youngest generations. They're huge. Basically, they range in age from pretty young, let's say 10 and up. I don't know what the next generation after Gen Z is called. I've seen some different ones out there. Up to Gen Z is probably like 21 is the oldest, 21, 22, and then from 21, 22 till like about 42 are millennials. So that's a big generational. You can see the range of people spending money there. Most in demand for social commerce clothes, then consumer electronics and home decor. And you can see in the last year, 64% of social media users, and that's 2 billion people worldwide, bought something on social media. Trust, however, you know, the caution is people are wary. You know, there's a trust factor because there's a lot of companies out there that I don't want to say they're sketchy because they're not necessarily sketchy, but I ordered a shirt for my husband once and I didn't know it was coming from China, and he's 6'4", and we ordered an extra large and it might have fit an extra large baby. It was so tiny. So you have to, you know, you're dealing with people's mistakes from other places. So just be as transparent as possible. Mobile payments. This is really important right now. It started growing even pre-pandemic with millennials using their phones to pay. But during the pandemic, people didn't want to use cash anymore. They didn't really want to hand their credit card to somebody and have it handed back. So it's all about mobile payments, people just, flash their phone and it's done. And so you have to prepare on your end. And there's plenty of apps that will help you do that to accept mobile payments because more and more younger people want to use it. Okay. So now we're going to look at consumer behavior patterns and what's going on. So one of the things the pandemic sort of brought home to a lot of consumers were that local businesses are endangered here. If no one's going out, stores are closing, and nobody wants that to happen. And so they became very supportive of local businesses to buy local small businesses. They're very aware of that. Also, though, it's longer purchase journeys. People that used to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to take it. More impulse buys are not so impulsive anymore. They're thinking about not only do they want that product, but they're thinking about what that product is, who that business is selling it, and they're thinking about sustainability and value, quality, timeliness. There's a lot of factors that go into the buying decision before they actually make that purchase. And they care more about than just what they're buying. Like I said, they want to know that you or that product are ethical, that things are sustainable, and that there's other considerations in place, which are basically value judgments, right? Consumers are much more conscious of values and are buying based on their value. 48% of consumers, of course, it's also convenience, right? 48% of consumers stopped shopping at a store they visited before the pandemic because that company did not have an online store. So, going back, I'm sure score counselors on your score mentors can tell you, going back even 10 years, sometimes it was like begging business owners, like, create a website. You can't, really compete in business today unless you have a website. And then it was, okay, now you have a website, you need to make it an e-commerce site, right? You need to let people be able to buy from your site. And during the pandemic, that's what people wanted to do. And if they weren't able to do that, they just moved on. And even stores that they used to shop at before, so they were maybe even loyal customers, if there was not a website that they could buy from, they moved on. So again, we're talking about activist consumers because that's part of it. Social purpose, it's no longer a nice to have. People are looking at that, particularly when you look at the biggest consumers today. Again, those are the millennials and Gen Z. They consider consumerism an actual channel for change. They're very activists when it comes to their purchasing behaviors. 50% are currently boycotting at least one company. I mean, I'm not in that age group, and I'm boycotting like 3, and now maybe more. There, you can see a lot on Twitter. Companies like that people are talking about who are still operating in Russia, people are adding them to their boycott list right now. And so you have to consider consumer behavior because you don't want to offend them. You don't want to push them away. So ask yourself, what does your company stand for? What kind of culture do you want to create? How are you making an impact beyond your own bottom line? Basically, people who are shopping local are looking for local companies that give back to the community. It's all about being part of one big community. And you need to know the answer to these questions because your customers are going to be asking them. So the NRF, the National Retail Federation, says you can't be one size all to all shoppers, right? You're not Walmart, you're not Target, you're not going to be able to satisfy everybody. So understand what your brand promise is, who your customers are. Do you have to change that brand promise and make sure your consumers understand what that is? You want to focus in on your key customers. Climate change, this is from the NRF, so don't blame me for any political message here. Climate change, the NRF said, is people are really concerned about it universally, and sustainability is key. They want ethical packaging. They want to look at companies that are doing that. And they're also looking, again, local companies that take care of their employees. And a lot of businesses have never understood that. Local businesses, their employees are your customers' neighbors. So if you are a bad boss, your potential customers know that and can take their business elsewhere because there's so many places that can provide what they want today. So what are the keys to converting, to people getting them from looking to shopping? Again, people are prioritizing shopping at small and local businesses. If they're shopping online, look at that number. 96% want free shipping. Nobody wants to pay for shipping. They want a free and easy return policy, meaning they don't want to be charged. At the beginning, when free shipping became an issue, people were like, okay, we're going to ship for free, but if you want to return this product, you're going to have to pay. And people are like, no way, I don't want to do that. That's costing me money. Why would I do that when I can, you're competing when you're doing retail goods with places like Amazon, where the people aren't paying for returns. So you have to really be cognizant of this. Of course, you cannot offer free shipping at any price. Figure out what your free shipping minimums are. I usually say, look at the average charge that people are ordering from your site. Make your free shipping minimum like about $20 over that, and make sure you have plenty of items that people can add to their cart. They will put things in their cart. They will buy products that they don't really need just so they can not pay for shipping. So they'll add products to meet your free shipping minimums. They want loyalty rewards. There's plenty of online loyalty programs that are easy to join, and you should definitely do that. 70% of customers want same or next day delivery. You're not going to be able to do that. You're not Amazon. So don't worry about it. You can make up for it because they want to shop local. So, or, I always say in a town, if it's small enough, you can start your own, teaming up with your fellow business owners, possibly start your own delivery service where it's not just delivering food, it's delivering merchandise as well. But that's a pretty big commitment. So I would say don't worry about that. So now we're going to look at some hot demographics, right? So who's buying? Who are the people you need to be aware of? So one of the ones, not talking about millennials or Gen Z, are boomers. That's my generation. So boomers are right now, they're between, well, I'll just give you the years because I can't do math in my head. They were born between 1946 and 1964. There's actually a designation for a boom year. It's a year that more than 4 million babies are born in America, and that first started in 1946, post World War II. That's why they call them, there was a boom. That's why they call it that. It's really the only generation that has actual start and end dates. So before, when I was trying to tell you when Gen Z was, when you look online, it's all different. Millennials have different start and end years. I wish the Census Bureau would just say, hey, this is what it is, but they don't. So what they noticed during the pandemic, and this is written about in the Washington Post, and if something, you can see the hyperlinks, you should be able to open all of those. The Washington Post did an article that talked about how the biggest growth of online shopping were people over the age of 65. Those previously had been very loyal in-store customers, but the pandemic, they couldn't go out. They didn't, sometimes stores were closed or they didn't want to go out. So they stayed home and started ordering online, and they liked it. They found it convenient. And even post-pandemic, now that they're used to it, they're going to continue to do this. So the advice to small and local businesses is to jump on this trend. If that's your target market, and again, you're talking to people from their 50s, 60s, and 70s. If that's your market, you want to start marketing to them again about online shopping in particular. Make sure you offer BOPUS and curbside pickup here to that generation, because that's really important to them. It's a lot easier to shop that way. Gen Z, so these are the youngest, let's say age 10 to 21 for the sake of this discussion. The oldest now, like I said, in their early 20s. Don't think they're too young to matter, because they're not. They contribute as a generation 830 billion in retail sales, just that generation. Some of it is their own money. Some of it with the younger ones, it's called pester power. It's like, mommy, buy me this, can grandma buy me that? So it's about pestering somebody to buy, but there's a lot of money invested in them. Of the older ones, the ones who are making their own decisions, They're price sensitive. They wait for sales and promotions. Financial independence for Gen Z is really important. It's one of their top goals in life. And already most of them say it's important to have a retirement plan, which for people in their teens and 20s is very unusual. Where do you find Gen Z? They're searching online for products and services information. A lot of that, I would venture to say, most of that is on phones, right? That's why you need to be mobily proficient there. But they're spending a lot of time outside. So if it works in your area, billboards or those outside advertising venues are good ways to catch their attention. So now look at teens. Again, don't dismiss teens as though they're just kids. I don't care. They spend over $2,000 a year of their own money, and there are millions of them. So that's in aggregation, that's a lot of people. Thrifting is growing amount with them about secondhand. We're going to have more on that later. But with teens, 51% bought and 62% sold secondhand items. Clothing. So Piper Sandler is an investment bank, and twice a year they come out with a new survey about teen spending. This is their fall survey from last year. The spring one will probably be out in April. Last year, last fall, clothing was their number one spend. That was new to the number one position for a while. That was up 14%. They were buying new clothes. I assume a lot of that was going back to school, not doing school at home. So you can see the biggest gain since 2014. Athletic clothes are still most popular with that group. Spending was up on hair care and fragrance items if you sell beauty supplies, but down on cosmetics and skincare for teens. If you own a restaurant, 14% of teens eat plant-based meat, like Impossible Foods and Beyond Meat. So they're conscious eaters, so vegetarian, vegan. So it's about offering options, right? We'll see that later when we talk about food. It's not necessarily, I'm not telling you to open up a vegetarian restaurant. You have to be in certain geographic areas where there's enough people to support that, but it's about offering options in the restaurant you have so you can accommodate everybody's taste. Spending was slightly down on video games in the fall, and their favorite social media platforms was Snapchat. TikTok was a close second. They're not on Facebook because that's where their parents are. Babies. So remember I talked about official boom years. Babies, we're kind of not having a baby boom right now. 3.6 million babies were born in 2020. That's short of that 4 million boom year. That was down 4%, and that's the lowest number since 1979. A lot of reasons for that, not necessarily all of them bad. The teen rate has plummeted, teen pregnancy. Women are getting married later, so they're having babies later, where if you go back generations, the average age of getting married was 20 and then 22 and then 24. It's now basically 30. And so people are waiting to have kids, which is why I think the number is down. You can see also the birth rate for women in their 20s is down 28% because they're not getting married till they're 30. So pregnancies, they're saying because of the pandemic, people didn't want to have a baby in 2020, 2021. There's a lot of issues with that. I only have 4, but some of my great nieces and nephews did have babies in that year. And one had to shop a hospital at the last minute because she was told her husband couldn't be in the birthing room with her. And that was a no-no. So she had to find a new hospital when she was basically 8 months pregnant. And so there are a lot of concerns. People postponed having kids until the pandemic was over. Average age first baby, 30, 31. Especially in bigger cities. And so you can see why the birth rate is down. Okay, so now we're going to go into specific hot businesses. So even though the birth rate is down, there's still a lot of kids being born. We're still talking 3.6 million new babies every year. And what do people do? They buy toys for those babies. So toy sales increased It hit over $38 billion last year, which was up 14% over the year before. So toys are a healthy business. The biggest seller were explorative toys, followed by stuffed animals, had the most growth. You would think, really? But yeah. So, that's something that hasn't changed. Back from when I was a kid, right? Everybody had their favorite stuffed animals. Juvenile products are not just toys, are on the rise. The more educated the consumer, the more money they're spending on juvenile products. So you can see, depending on where you're selling, you might sell more based on the makeup of your audience in terms of education. The biggest market share of products is strollers, but up is entertainment, furniture, mobility furniture, and feeding. And you can see in that picture, that's one of my great nieces, and she's on this, I don't know what it's called. There's several different companies that make them, but according to my niece, it's like one of the hottest products out there. It's furniture and it's foam, and you can make different shapes. Like that's her fort shape. They make it a couch, they make it a bed. It comes, lots of different companies are selling it, but it's really popular. So my great niece loves it a lot. But my niece says that all her friends are getting some version of it. So if you sell kids products, you want to look into that and make sure you have some version of that in your stores. Okay, we're going to move into beauty now because it's hot. You may not think beauty, really? Why? Because makeup sales were actually, so they went down in 2020 because everybody was home. Nobody thought they needed to put makeup on. But in the spring, just about a year ago, a little less than a year ago, last year, they actually hit higher than pre-pandemic levels. So people are like, oh, we can go out again. They started buying makeup. In-store sales are booming here. This is a business that still does really well in store because people want to try on the product and see what it looks like. That's not to say it doesn't do well online. It does both. Consumers expect deals and promotions when it comes to this product. And again, where it says more beauty trends, you can click on that, and that's a hyperlink to a lot of very specific things that are working in this market. One of the hottest, newest growth in the makeup market is men's makeup. So when you go back 10 years, men's grooming products were always like aftershave and shaving cream and that kind of thing. But now we're talking hair, skincare, and makeup. When we talk about men's personal care, you can see the growth. It was 47 billion in 2019 because it included all that aftershave stuff, and it's going to hit 78 billion by 2027. The guy in the picture is ex-baseball star, former baseball star Alec Rodriguez. He just launched his own men's makeup company. He's using a blur stick, kind of makes your face look better for men who are not acquainted with that. So in London, I have followed this company for a bit. So in 2020, a company in London convinced one of London's biggest department stores to give them a table, to sell men's makeup products. They told them that it's going to work. And of course, London's a huge city. And not only did it work, it exceeded expectations, and they opened their own store. So in London, there's a men's makeup store, and it's the world's first makeup store for men. And it's doing really well. It's called War Paint for Men, if you want to look it up. Clean beauty. This is a whole new category, again, because people are concerned not only about the environment, but they're concerned about the chemicals that are being used in products that they're putting, on their face. They're worried about, should I wash my hair with this? Should I put this stuff on my skin? And so it's a whole essentially new category of beauty. If you buy makeup, Sephora, Ulta, the two biggest online makeup sellers, they have sections just for clean beauty. So people can go there and say, yeah, this is clean. And they're looking for those kind of products. You can see right now it's a $5 billion market that by 2027 is expected to more than double to 12 billion. So there's a lot of opportunity for growth here. In general, there's huge opportunity in the beauty business for companies that maybe start selling one product and get, grow and then get bought by one of the big companies. I think the largest, so a lot of the makeup brands that you think of as, oh, independent, like MAC or Too Faced or stuff like that, MAC and Too Faced are owned by Estee Lauder. They started small and got bought by a bigger company a couple of years ago, more than a couple, let's say 10, 12 years ago. A woman, she was a flight attendant, she had rosacea, meaning she had red splotches on her face. She finally found a product that covered it, started a makeup company called IT Cosmetics, and sold it for over $1 billion within 10 years. So there's a lot of potential success in this business. So you can see what's selling for men and women in terms of products, it's not just the goopy stuff, right? It's stuff you curl your hair with or you groom your body with. So you can see what's really hot. For men, I'm not telling you to go open a men's makeup store, because I think that would be, particularly in the Central Valley, I don't know that would go over really well. But if you sell male products, if you sell sporting goods, if you sell hardware, if you have a store, men's clothing that appeals to men, it wouldn't hurt you to take a shelf or a table and experiment. Just try it. See what products you can get. You order through Alibaba or other companies. Don't go out and try to create your own product yet at this point, and see if you can sell that stuff to your existing customer base. Same thing with women. If you don't sell beauty products, but you sell clothing, maybe add a couple of beauty products into your store mix or onto your website just to experiment and see if you can expand your customer sales and your customer base from there. So cars, auto sales, cars are lasting longer. It's probably the one thing that people have invented that aren't falling apart, planned obsolescence. They're lasting longer. People are taking better care of them. But when people are buying cars, they're buying them remotely. They're very comfortable making a purchase for a car online. Particularly as you can see, the younger they are, the more comfortable they are doing that. And you see commercials for that all the time. But if you own an auto, if you sell cars, this is important, because understand that your customers are not necessarily coming to your lot. The first thing they're going to do is visit your website. So you want to make sure your website shows your inventory, shows what you have, emphasizes. Car buying is still scary for a lot of people. So you want to emphasize on your website that you're friendly, people, you're not going to scare people. So you can see that, it's almost 60%. They don't go to your lot. They're going to go to your website. They're going to browse the internet, which means you need to take care of your search engine optimization, which we'll talk about in April. Make sure you join me. Or they'll send an email, and we'll talk about email marketing then too. 40%, 39% reach out directly to the dealership with either a call, a text, or again, website or email. And only 30% of people, their first step is to go to the dealership. You can read the whole report there. It's really interesting if you're in the car business. The auto aftermarket, because people are holding on to their cars longer, has really grown as well. You can see the kind of growth, 43% from 2020 to 2021. That's a lot of growth. You can see what people are buying and why. And so again, the auto aftermarket stores, maybe hardware stores, see what you can add a product or two. Auto aftermarket, NPD is a huge consumer group, and they did a whole report on this, and they said the auto aftermarket DIY aspect of it, really different than it used to be. Customers have changed their behavior. So you need to kind of look at that and what people are doing. And again, they're looking for pricing and promotion efforts to get them to shop with you. So you want to make sure that you're doing that if you sell those products. Clothing and accessories. Clothing, America needs new clothes because for basically a year, they were at home dressing comfortably. As you can see, she's wearing pajama bottoms and a work jacket there because a lot of people are still working at home. Sales growth right now, unbelievable growth in sleepwear. But you can see that the definition of sleepwear, pajamas and slippers are now not just for people sleeping. People are working in them, or like yoga pants and that kind of thing. Socks have had a really big renaissance because people are not going outside, so they're wearing socks all year round, and they want cute socks. So you can see what is items of clothing are really working. Accessories and bags had a bad 2019, didn't really pick up until 2021, where, so you're talking handbags, small personal accessories are really, really selling well right now after 2 years of not selling well at all. You can see shoes, sneakers have kind of I'm from New York, so we call them sneakers. I don't know what you call them in the Central Valley. People make fun, my friends, my California friends make fun of me because a lot of them call them tennis shoes, but sneaker sales are up. Over 50% of consumers are now wearing sneakers outside of the home. They're wearing them to work. People are just much more casual in their footwear choices. And you can see by 2023, they're going to be ahead of pre-pandemic levels. So it's a good market with a lot of sale. Retail, it's called re-commerce. This is brand new. I was telling Christina before this webinar started that all of a sudden I found all this new information that I needed to throw in. So I changed this over the weekend. There's a company called Chairish that does resale furniture, but they did a whole report and they call it re-commerce, which I thought was really interesting. So this is those secondhand sales that I mentioned earlier that really started. The resurgence of it started in 2020, and it started with the teen market. So by 2027, sales, re-commerce sales, so this is buying used goods, is expected to grow 127%. And you can see the global resale market is expected by 2024, right? Only 2 years from now, less than 2 years, to be over $130 billion. So that's just enormous possibilities here. Clothing, apparel, accessories, $36 billion market already. You can see Chain Store Age says it's going to grow faster, 11 times faster than firsthand retail clothing. People are shopping, want to shop at a business. This is kind of this new trend where you walk into a clothing store and the new stuff is here, let's say, and then there are racks of used clothing in the same store. And 43% of consumers say, I would prefer to shop in that kind of store. So you need to start thinking about that, because I think that's a new dynamic for consumers, and probably most stores do not offer that. 34% are more likely to shop at a store that offers that kind of setup. So pre-pandemic, so here's the re-commerce shift. Pre-pandemic, fashion was the big leader in the resale market. It was kids. One of my nephews would refuse to buy new t-shirts for years and years and years, and he would always go to Goodwill or the Salvation Army or local thrift stores to buy his clothing. So it was mostly clothing. Home furnishings was only about 11%. Fashion introduced buyers to the benefit of e-commerce, but now last year in 2020, the home category started becoming the fastest growing resale segment. While fashion is still the most popular, more and more Americans are buying resale when it comes to their homes. And you can see that Zillow says secondhand furnishings. There's a whole report there at that Zillow hyperlink, are making a big comeback, really popular with millennials and Gen Z, about buying used vintage furniture. Also, that Cherish report that I mentioned a couple of slides ago, you should take a look at that if you're interested in this market. A lot of really good info there. And Statistica projects that the furniture resale market's going to increase 70% by 2025. IKEA is doing this now too, telling people bring back your gently used IKEA furniture, and they're reselling it on the floor. They're buying it. Why is it popular? People are trying to save money. Again, they're thinking environmentally, they want value, and it's about sustainability. So that's sustainability is a whole new part of customer behaviors that figures in all sorts of different areas. So wellness is a whole huge industry. I have a report here. It's from McKinsey. All these things are hyperlinked. So I'm not going to talk specifically about everything in wellness because it's really detailed information from McKinsey, which if you click on the hyperlinks or you look, in the slides that are upcoming, there's a lot of details here. 79% of consumers believe wellness is really important. 42% say it's a top priority. Sleep has become a really big thing with all these new mattresses and pillows and sheets and supposedly everything that's going to help you sleep better. But you can see it's an enormous market, 1.5 trillion in sales with 5 to 10% growth. So McKinsey has broken it down into these 6 categories. These are parts of the wellness market. So you don't have to address all of wellness. You can hone in, maybe you're a nutritionist or a dietitian. There's service ideas here. There are product ideas here. There are mixed service and product ideas here too. It's just an enormous market, just full of potential. You can see the spending by category. Sleep is tiny up there. I think sleep is growing. I keep seeing things. Last week was National Sleep Day or something. People are just making a whole big idea of the importance of sleep and having all these products to help you do that. You can see health is what does health really mean? It's so vague, but services are big. So you can see the breakdown is 70 products, 30 services, but McKinsey said services are growing, a growing part of it. So again, that's a lot of consulting and counseling and spas but it even goes into home design, right? I'm like addicted to HGTV. So if you watch those shows, people, I want my bathroom to look like a spa. So it's sort of translated into all different types of products and services. McKinsey broke down wellness consumers into these categories about people who will spend money no matter what to people who were a little more price conscious now. You can, look at that page and see, where do I think my customer falls? And then again, I'm not going to read this, but each one of these is a wellness trend and what McKinsey says is a potential for small businesses and how to take advantage of that. I'm just going to stop on this page because more personalization, that goes beyond wellness. All consumers today really want products that they think or services that are personalized to them, right? That people care about them and are investing in them specifically. Digital, huge. Future is digital, no question about it. About using influencers and the rise of services there. And that's like personal trainers. It doesn't have to be fancy either. And a lot of it is online now, right? Because people weren't going to see their personal trainers took to online to do that, and a lot of other health services that way as well. Sports specialty retail, at least Americans are sort of interested in activities, right? Sporting goods had a really great year last year, recovered to nearly pre-pandemic levels. Lot of growth in digital commerce there, that online sales. And changes in consumer behavior. Sportswear, remember I talked about teens wearing that, leisure wear, really up in sales. I think that's going to continue because we don't really know yet in terms of return to work, return to the office, but a lot of companies are telling their employees you can stay home permanently, or we're going to have a hybrid thing where you're home 3 days or 2 days and in the office. So all that kind of leisure wear is going to continue to grow as people get to stay home more, but are working there, not just hanging out at home in old ripped t-shirts. Sports specialty, you can see what the hot categories are: camping, climbing, water sports, protective gear, and accessories. And you can see the hot products there. This is from NPD Group. I highly recommend, and I'll talk about that at the end, that you sign up for their reports or follow them on Twitter. NPD on Twitter just says, hey, here's our newest report. And you link to, they don't give you the link to the report where you have to pay $4,000. I mean, you can get there, but they link to enough information that you don't need to spend $4,000 on that report. Like, here's some overall an overview of the market and what people are spending. And it's really helpful. They don't leave you hanging like some other companies where they hide the good info. They give you enough to give you a really good idea. Pickleball, hottest, fastest growing sport in America, grew 21% from 2019 to 2020. 4.2 Americans are now playing it. Schools are considering adding pickleball to their PE curriculums. And so again, this requires special equipment. I don't know, I've never played, but those are the pickleballs, and there are rackets, and they say it's very convenient and a lot easier for older people like boomers to play. So it's kind of popular across all age groups. Boston Consulting Group says, if you want to get into this business, don't try to appeal to everyone. You're not Dick's Sporting Goods. Specialize in a vertical. You know, where I live in Southern California in Orange County. Bike stores are very specialized, and they do really well because you can buy more bikes, more accessories, more helmets. People have a choice. So the more vertical you are, according to the Boston Consulting Group, the more successful you can be. Just pick your sport and specialize in that online as well. Financial advisors. Remember what I said before about Gen Z was really interested in retirement advice? There's a lot of Americans who are coming up to what you might call milestone moments, who don't want to tackle this without the advice of a financial advisor. You have boomers who are retiring, and since people aren't really necessarily retiring at 65 anymore, you still have a lot of boomers who aren't yet 70, right? The boomers who were born in 1952 and before, that's the first part of the boomers are turning 70. So you have a ton of boomers left, just millions and millions of Americans who need financial advice for retirement. You have a lot of millennials who need financial advice about buying a home or saving for college. You have younger Americans who are interested, as we said, about retirement, to make sure that they're investing now. And so if you have a financial background, it's a really hot business right now. Financial advisors are in demand. Okay, now we're going to look at the home category, which encompasses a lot. Home remodeling. Sales started booming during the pandemic, mainly because people were spending more time at home and were like, oh, I got to fix this place up. So they invested in fixing their homes. People are living in their homes longer. Money was cheap, so they were remodeling. Stay-at-home spending, they bought more decorative stuff because they wanted to be comfortable. They bought more small appliances, furniture. You can see all the categories were doing well. Women are the biggest spenders and shoppers here. So if you sell these kind of products, and I'm talking not just, I don't want to be sexist here, but not just the decorative stuff. That's where people think, oh, women don't go to hardware stores. No, they do. Women are the ones who are buying the faucets and the toilets and the kitchen cabinets and stuff like that. I mean, we're remodeling our bathroom Actually, both, because we found mold, but that wasn't the original intent. I'm the one who bought all the faucets. I kind of like, oh, look at said to my husband, look at this, you like it, right? And that was it. And then I went and bought it. I bought the toilets. I did all that. NPD group shows that women are the one who are buying these products. 60% of kitchen and bath products are sold online, most of them to women. So make sure your marketing is inclusive of that, and make sure if you're in store that you are not condescending. It's happened. A friend of mine and I several years ago had not very good experiences going into Home Depot because we were two women and it was really apparent. And we kind of said, well, we're not going back to that store ever again. So, and we don't years later. And if we go to Home Depot, we go to a different one. The home improvement industry needs to understand varying motivations, why people are buying things. Again, women are the ones making the purchases, and you can see the age group there. And the reason all of this is women are the ones buying houses. It's really interesting. Home ownership rate in 2020 reached its highest point in 10 years at that point. And you can see women are the ones buying houses. Younger women are buying houses for the first time. Older women are the biggest group of repeat buyers. And the other group next to women buying houses are millennials. 67% of first-time mortgage last year were done by millennials, because millennials really are the nation's parents. Millennials are the ones with most kids under the age of 18. They're more likely to buy a fixer-upper because their budgets, housing prices are really expensive, particularly here in California. We're really aware of that. So millennials are buying fixer-uppers because it's what they can afford. And the important thing is for people in the remodeling industries, in construction, is they buy their house and 6 months later, within 6 months, they're starting to do some of those projects. So it's a good idea for some kind of construction people to get to know your real estate people, because a lot of times they ask their real estate person, do you have a recommendation? So there's a lot of joint marketing opportunities there. What do millennials want? Well, a lot of them started this house hunt because COVID forced them to. They weren't necessarily ready to buy a house, but COVID said, oh, okay, we're here, and millennials wanted to move out of the city. A lot of them moved to the suburbs and more rural areas and bought homes, and they want more space. They want space for remote work. This is the big thing with homes today. People are looking not necessarily for bigger homes, but homes that have space configured so there's separate work spaces, maybe more bedrooms or a den, or something that can be carved out for work. IKEA did a survey, and same kind of thing. They want space for a better work from home setup. They want a lot of outdoor space and a space to do hobbies. IKEA said people now use their homes as playgrounds, gyms, schools, offices, and mini parks. So there's a lot of interest in this market. Millennials are also looking at multi-generational homes, sometimes to make room for an aging parent. If you want to reach millennials, and you obviously do if you're in this business, again, it's all about digital. They use their smartphones to research product, services, and compare prices. And basically everybody else is now doing that as well. Aging in place, this is a whole new category here. Before, people, particularly who lived in the Midwest and Northeast, they would hit 65 or 70 and they'd move south. Now people are deciding to age in place. That doesn't necessarily mean in the same house, but often it does. They're not moving cities. They want to stay near their kids and their grandkids. Homes need to be retrofitted to be safe for seniors. Sometimes doorways need to be widened. Sometimes floors need to be leveled to make room for wheelchairs, to accommodate, carpets need to be removed so it's easier to walk on hardwood. So there's a lot of going on. All of those are hyperlinks. Really interesting information. There are actually ADA standards for this kind of thing, disability standards. So it's a great business for construction companies to get into sort of the aging in place remodeling. And it's also good for services there because people need help. They don't know what they need. They don't know they shouldn't have throw rugs. They don't know, oh, you can get lower cabinets, or you can get, desks that rise or fall, or those kind of things. So it's a really just blossoming industry. Weddings, a lot of weddings in the pandemic years were postponed, so they were pushed to this year and next year. Wedding business is good because it covers so many different businesses, right? Catering, florists, photographers, videographers, wedding planners, clothing designers, jewelry designers. There's so many businesses that can take advantage of the wedding industry. Weddings are now being planned on Thursday and Sunday because Fridays and Saturdays are booked. People are spending money on their weddings. So if you're in that industry, take a look at how you can cater to new couples getting married. Some people say it's a bubble. I don't really think it is, because if you look at demographics, you have just millions of new people hitting that, okay, we're going to be 30 and think about getting married, plus the ones that have postponed it. America Goes Green, really important here. America's more concerned about, we've talked about it all through this presentation, about eco-friendly products, about sustainability. Millennials, you can see, lead the way there. Also Gen Z's, this is really important to them, and almost half of baby boomers. So you are talking here millions and millions and millions of Americans who are looking at this. Bank of America did a survey of small business owners who are saying, yeah, we're trying to be more green because we know we can save money. We know we can attract customers from it. But some are finding it's hard. Like, it costs more money to do that, to initially convert to being more green. Where do I find stuff? If you're selling stuff and you want it to be green stuff, they're having a hard time finding sustainable products. But 91% say they know it's going to be beneficial or a part of their core business practice. So it's really important for you to look at your business and say, how can I be greener? How can I make better environmental choices? Consumers are skeptical. They don't believe your claims. And, I think of yourself as a consumer and you can see why. So consumers want to buy sustainable goods. So they might look at something and there's an item of clothing that it says it's, ethically made, but it doesn't say how or why or where. And consumers look at that and go, yeah, I don't really believe you. You can say you're ethically made, but you need to give me some details. So that's all on the packaging, right? I'm not telling you to produce brochures, because that's crazy and that's going to cost you money. But on your website, you can explain it a little more in depth. And on your label, put, like ethically made from these kind of fibers, or, 4 or 5 words that explain the origin of what that is. Again, because greenwashing is really a big thing in fashion, where people claim to be ethical and they're not, and consumers are onto that. Whole Foods is saying it's the same thing with food. People are looking to buy organic food. People don't know that organic is actually an official designated government requirement. You have to, whatever the requirements are, you have to meet them in order to call your food organic. But consumers aren't aware of that. They don't necessarily like, what's the difference between organic and natural? Are all natural products organic? No, they're not. And so you have to explain it to consumers because they're confused. And a confused consumer just reverts to old purchases. They just go back to old habits. So if you're making green or sustainability products, make it easy for them to believe you. Our final category is food and restaurants. This is pretty new information, like within the last 2 weeks, I found it. National Restaurant Association put out their report saying food industry sales are going to hit $898 billion this year. In inflation adjusted dollars, that's still 11% below what they were before the onset of COVID-19. And in addition to that, costs are up. It costs more to hire people. It costs more to buy food. It costs more to, pay the electricity, to pay your overhead. So the Restaurant Association says it's still a year of transition for restaurants, but at least the path we're on is going in the right direction. Restaurant owners say they think it's going to take a year or more before things return to normal. And they expect food, labor, and occupancy costs to stay high. So if you own a restaurant, or if you want to, I know most of you don't have a business yet and you're thinking about it, think about how you can get into this business. Think about what you need to do, because everybody, it's like restaurants are the most popular thing that people want to own, but they're so expensive, and the failure rate, honestly, is so high here because of the cost. So traffic is down since the pandemic. So there's a lot of pressure on profitability, but consumers, again, they're willing to spend. People are saying, I want to eat out more. I want to go out more. So take advantage of that. Up your marketing to people's, tell them why it's safe to come in to your store, or provide loyalty programs are going to go a long way here in attracting customers as well. And here are the trends that we think are happening. In Forbes, a restaurant expert said they think that restaurants are going to start to reconfigure, and instead of 70% being front of house, which is where the people eat, they're going to have bigger kitchens, because they're going to not be necessarily catering to in restaurant dining. It's more about pickup, takeout, delivery. More restaurants, high-end eateries are adding drive-through setups, because again, that's convenient, and they know people don't want to come in. So here's some advice from two experts. One, NPD Group said off-premises are going to grow. Restaurants with drive-throughs, delivery, curbside pickup, dedicated to-go areas are going to continue to see the sales growth. That's where all the growth is expected to come. So again, if that's you, you have to make sure your website digital ordering capabilities are really up to snuff. Make sure you have lots of great pictures of your food. Across the industry, according to the Boston Consulting Group, digital ordering is now almost a third of all orders, and it's going to continue to grow. Again, it's convenient. Demographics before the pandemic, mostly food delivery was young people, 18 to 34-year-olds. Now all demos, because again, people couldn't go out. They got used to it. They were like, okay, I have to learn how to do it. And once they did, they thought, oh, we can do this. Still really popular with millennials. You can see they order out. 71% order out at least weekly food to be delivered. And why? They want to try something new. They enjoy finding new places. And so that's a good news for new restaurants, because those online buyers are in the mood for exploring and experimenting. And it's a great way to get your restaurant noticed and have people pay attention to it. A big part of that is photography. If you use one of those third-party delivery services, the pictures are teeny and sometimes you really can't see them. So people will go out to your website to say, well, what is that? So on your website, even though you're maybe mainly selling through one of the third-party delivery services, you want to have really good pictures on your site so people can go, oh, that's what it is. That looks really great. And they'll go back to the delivery service to order the food. People select a restaurant almost 60% based on a promo or a discount. America is very, very value conscious right now. I don't know that that's going to go away anytime soon. So they're looking for deals, free delivery, free giveaways, bonus add-ons, and more. Ghost kitchens. Ghost kitchens are basically restaurants that are not restaurants. They're just kitchens, and they are making food for other restaurants where people are coming to dine in, or they're making food that are just going to be delivered on the delivery services. Somebody goes on one of the delivery services and says, oh, that looks good. And they don't know that you exist or don't exist. And that's one of the questions people have is, well, what if somebody finds, oh, I really like this, I want to go there next time, and they find out there's no place to go. But that's okay once they get it, because customers are coming are getting comfortable with the idea of ghost kitchens. You can see the sales trajectory there. The advantage of a ghost kitchen is you can locate your restaurant in a part of town where it doesn't have high traffic. You don't need a well-lit big parking lot. You don't need those things that restaurants who are catering to in-store customers. You don't need to worry about anybody. You're not having a wait staff. You're just having, it's about preparing the food, cooking it, and then either you delivering it or getting it out to the delivery services to deliver it. It's a great way to experiment too, with maybe new food items. If you have a restaurant, adding a ghost kitchen, maybe you want to expand, want to try new menu items. It's a great way to do that. Mocktails are really hot. People are drinking less, which is funny because people, you know, circumstances are, you'd think like, oh, I need a drink, but they're drinking less because they're trying to get healthier. That goes back to that whole wellness section. But they don't want to, you know, they don't want to be the person who goes to a bar or a restaurant with their friends and is drinking a glass of water where their friends are drinking something fun. So this is the rise of mocktails. You can see they look like real drinks. They're really fun looking, they're flavorful, but they just don't have any alcohol in them. And this isn't like the Shirley Temples. You know, this is, if you own a bar or a restaurant, you want to add real adult mocktails to your menu, because again, with restaurants, it's all about choices. It's about making your restaurant diverse enough in terms of food and beverage selection that a whole group of friends can come in. And some people might be vegetarian and some are not, but if you have the options, it's not like, oh, we can't go there because there's nothing for me to eat. All the friends can go there, and it really works pretty well. So there's some booze-free bars that are opening in the bigger cities, right? Those are the places where you need to have enough of a demographic to attract those, but you can click on those links and see what they are. Popcorn is kind of having a resurgence. Different flavored popcorn sales were up 9% in 2021. That pace is expected to continue in 2022. It's fun. Packaging is key here. You know, you want to make your packaging as fun as your product. Plant power. This is what I'm saying about vegetarian and vegan options. Again, add those options. If you own a bakery, add gluten-free options. There were some at the height of the gluten-free phase. There were some places that tried to do gluten-free bakeries, and that's going to work in a city the size of New York or LA, maybe Chicago, because you have enough people there that you can, you know, that's a subset of a subset. But in most places, it's just, again, about the options. If you have a bakery, have those options. Have dairy-free options, gluten-free options, no matter what it is, just make sure there's something for everybody. Again, part of it's the environmental concern, part of it is animal welfare, and part of it, people are just trying to be healthier. So we're almost at the end. So I don't have more presentation, but there's so much information out there. So this is where I get a lot of my information from. You know, like I said, I do that Currents newsletter once a week. So some of these I've mentioned, NPD Group, Mintel is just like that, Nielsen. They're huge research companies that people pay thousands of dollars for their reports. But if you sign up for their mailing list, you can get enough information to give you a, I don't know if I want to do that industry. What do the current numbers look like? What's selling in clothing? There's enough info in that release that they put out that gives you a really good basis of information to start. eMarketer, again, they charge a lot of money, but they have, you can sign up for their daily email and you will get an email of a chart and info every day. And that info is free and it is really helpful. They are one of my favorite resources in terms of keeping track of what's going on. If you're in the restaurant industry, you need to make sure you subscribe to Nation's Restaurant News, Restaurant Business. This is not expensive. If you don't want to read something in print, you can get a digital subscription. I think it costs like $54 a year, and there's access to so much expert advice and information and predictions in those. Pew Research, really good research reports covering the gamut from demographics to businesses to things that you may not care about or you might care about in your personal life. Again, just sign up for these releases or follow a lot of these companies on social media, because they'll give you a lot of information that way. NPD Group, like I said, really good on Twitter, really, really great on Twitter for sharing information. So here's some other things that you can look at. These are all hyperlinked for more info about sustainability, green packaging. What is the new normal? You know, a lot of people throw those terms around, but we really don't know what the new normal is. Everybody defines that differently. So McKinsey took a look at that. What's the future of home design? You know, when we talked about aging in place, that's a lot of downsizing. So there's a lot there that realtors, real estate agents, even community planners need to know about that. Our restaurant's going to have to raise prices. Yeah. And there's the food report from wholesales. Then a lot of you said you had a business idea, which is great. But most of you weren't in business. So here are just some places to explore where you can get some more business ideas from. There are a lot of ideas, you know, for side hustles where you can do that while you're still working your job and grow that into a business. Or, you know, there are signs, and your score counselor really is the place to go. Like if you're trying to mull over, well, I have this hobby or I'm doing this side hustle. Is it a real business? Am I ready to make that leap financially, mentally? There's all these aspects of it. Talk to your SCORE mentor because they can really help you. I am a big, big fan of SCORE, and I'm going to turn it back over to Christina now to talk to you a little bit about SCORE.
Thank you very much, Riva. Great information. So on this slide, just going to cover some SCORE resources that is available to you on our website. There is a search bar on our website, which is very useful. Put in the keyword that you're looking for. For this example, we did marketing, and that's the link to all the marketing tools and templates that is available to you. If you would like to request a SCORE mentor, which I highly recommend you do, please visit score.org/find-mentor. And we are an all-volunteer organization. If you're interested in spending some time volunteering, you can go to that link. And for upcoming events for our local SCORE chapter here in the Central Valley, you can click on that link and also visit our website, which is centralvalley.score.org. If you have any questions, you can contact us. There's our email address, info.0380@scorevolunteer.org. On the next slide,
Yeah.
I will go ahead and launch the exit poll. And just let's see, we have 4 questions. We would like to know, was today's webinar what you expected? How would you rate today's webinar for content and presentation? And would you attend future marketing webinars? And the last question, would you recommend SCORE to a friend? We are on Facebook and LinkedIn, and you can find us by searching SCORE Central Valley. And if you like today's webinar, please give us a like and share our Facebook page. That way we get the word out. So I'll give it a few more seconds there. I see some answers coming in. And in the meantime, let us know what questions you have here in the chat, and I can read them out to Riva and the rest of the team here. All right, I'll go ahead and share the results for everyone. So everybody found today's webinar what they expected. Awesome, excellent job. And let's see, everybody plans to attend future marketing webinars. Perfect. And everybody plans to like us on Facebook, and they would recommend SCORE to a friend. Awesome. Thank you very much, everyone. Good job, Riva. And I do want to take a moment to let everyone know about Riva's next month's marketing webinar, which is going to be called Discovery Marketing 101. This is going to be on April 13th at 10 a.m. It's a free webinar. And Riva, can you just do a brief description on what that webinar will be about?
Yeah, so I'm really excited. So this is the launch of a 3-part marketing series. So in April, we're going to give a sort of an overview of, we call it discovery marketing. How do you get discovered, right? How do you get a consumer to find you? Increasingly, that's online. And then it starts getting confusing. Should you use PPC, pay-per-click? What search engine optimization? What are people looking for? How does this all happen? I'm going to simplify it for you because, as you've seen today, I don't like the complicated. So I'm going to make that easy for you to understand and to know. I'm also going to tell you, and I'll give you the number one way of return on investment in marketing for small businesses, for all businesses, is email. So we're going to look at that. And then in following months, we're going to do a deep dive on email and a deep dive on social media marketing, because those are really important. Like Christina said, April 13th, 10 a.m. Please be here. Tell your friends. Again, if you have any questions, that's my email. That's my Twitter. You can find me on both. Just let me know. I know Christina said that they're going to share the presentation with you. So they will, so you can look at it. Once you get it, if you have any questions, just let me know. A lot of this stuff is changing all the time. Like I said, I just discovered re-commerce on Saturday. So there's things going on all the time. Your SCORE mentors, really, I cannot recommend SCORE more highly. Also plug every other Tuesday or 2 Tuesdays a month, my new blog post goes up on the SCORE website at score.org. There's one on women that goes up, that should be up already today. So check that out. And like I said, I post there every twice a month. I'm going to stop the screen share and we're going to go back and hopefully take your questions.
Thank you, Riva. Yeah, we have a couple questions here. Let's see. Let me start. So beyond wellness, are there any other service sectors in demand?
Yeah. So there's a lot of service sectors in demand, even beyond wellness. Childcare is obviously really in demand as people go back to work. It's like, what am I doing with my kid? Who's taking care of that? So that's and again, there are some, for daycare, there's licensing requirements and insurance costs, but that's one that's really in demand. That whole aging in place, I think I emphasized too much the construction part of it, but there's a whole service component to it, of checking out, going into somebody's house and saying, this is what you need fixed. Not that you're going to fix it up, but maybe, again, partnering with construction companies to say, this is what needs to be done. In regard to that, some of that, I talked about downsizing. It's about organizing garage sales or getting rid of accumulated merchandise. It's overwhelming. People can't do it themselves. So they're turning to consultants who are doing that. And the one thing, again, that we talked about, and you all can see it, most of you don't have a business yet, is the startup rate started taking off in the late summer of 2020 and is just skyrocketing, and new businesses need services. So if you're an accountant, if you're a lawyer, if you're a web designer, if you're anything that can help a business get started, those are really, really in demand.
All right. And a couple people wanted the links, Riva, for the blog post. So I do say that I posted the link there to the general SCORE blog and Riva's most recent blog. So the link
Oh, great.
Links are there in the chat. Perfect. And let's see. Can the presentation be shared? Yes, I'm going to email everybody the presentation. It's going to be in a PDF format and all the links are going to be clickable. Okay. And a couple more questions here, Riva. How do I know which social media platform to use?
Oh, what a good question. So we're going to get into that more next month, and then on our social media deep dive. So the basic rule is sign up for all of them, right? Once you have your business name, go and sign up for every social media platform because you want to reserve your spot. It's free and they don't like boot you off if you don't use it. So sign up for Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest and Facebook and LinkedIn. Just make sure, I don't know if I missed one in there. Understand that Snapchat and TikTok are for younger audiences. Both are trying to grow outside of that. You know, that's that balancing act for them because the more adults they attract, the more kids that leave. But sign up for all of them and then basically pick two that you're going to really be present on. Almost everybody recommends that you have a presence on Facebook just because Facebook is Facebook. It's huge. It has the biggest audience. And so you don't want to miss those people. And then look at your demographics and look at what you do. If you're a B2B business, LinkedIn should be your next choice, right? Because that's where all the B2B action takes place. That's where you can sort of assert yourself as an authority by doing a post on LinkedIn and you're showing people, oh, you really know your stuff. Or it's not, people think of LinkedIn as just a place to either hire somebody or get hired, but it's so much more than that now. It's really a big platform for sharing information. So you want to do that. If you are catering to younger people, Snapchat and TikTok are the place to be. If you have a visual business, if you are in construction, then look at the specific ones. If you're interior designer construction, make sure you're on Houzz, Houzz, as well as on the bigger ones. But with that, look at Pinterest. Pinterest is basically a mall, right? People go on Pinterest because they're looking for certain products and they'll search, you know, maybe they want a blue bracelet. So they'll search on blue bracelets. If you sell I should have picked something else, blue bracelets, you can, you know, use your hashtags on, on Pinterest and people will go. And the thing about Pinterest, they started social selling before anybody else. They can just click, go to your store, you basically, boom, you've made a sale. And so, but it's very visual platform like Instagram, right? Instagram is trying very hard to get your business. They've increased ads. The one hard thing about Instagram is you can't sell directly the links in the bio, and some people find it confusing, but all of them, the social mediums have instructions for free about how to use them as selling platforms. They all have ad programs and they're cheap. Facebook ads are cheap and you can zero in on zip code, on gender, on age, on, you know, things like that. So look into social media advertising as well, because it's really effective. So I would say pick Facebook and then pick another one and do a deep dive on them. And once you're comfortable with them, you can expand out, but get your name in on all of them first.
Comment from Melissa. Melissa says that Instagram has in-app shops now.
Oh yeah, you're right. I think they just launched that. Thank you, Melissa.
Really
yeah.
New. Yeah. Okay, Rieva, I have a few more here. Can you recommend someone to help me develop a website?
So I would ask your score counselor. So our web, you know, there's a lot of web designers out there. So I don't know any in the, not that they need to be in the Central Valley, but I always believe in shopping locally. My web designer is down here in Orange County. Just look for them, look for a company, ask to see websites that they've developed, you know, make sure you look at sites that they've developed. I also do, I'm glad you asked that question, because a lot of people and a lot of website companies say, oh, here's DIY, you can do it yourself. No, you really can't. I mean, you can, and people have, but that takes a lot of time. So I recommend using a web developer. I would, you know, talk to your score counselor about that. Sometimes they know people work with SCORE, maybe giving presentations on web development and design. You know, look around, ask your friends, ask people who, if you go to a local website and you really like it, ask them who their designer is. there's so many, and here's one where don't be afraid to, use new web design companies, because younger people have a really good, sort of an inherent knowledge of what works online and what doesn't.
Somebody recommended the website Fiverr, 5rr.com,
Yeah.
and it looks like that's a freelance service. So
Yes, Fiverr, Upwork, they're all freelance services where you can go on and contract out for whether it's web development or marketing material design or content providers. Just make sure whatever you do, whether it's Fiverr or not, do your research and don't pick by price. Don't go, oh, look, that person only charges this much money, they charge the least, I'm going there. You really want to make sure because your website is a big impression. It says a lot about your business. So you don't want to go with the lowest cost, because you may not be, often you get what you pay for. So be careful.
yeah. Yeah, I highly suggest you reach out to a SCORE mentor. A SCORE mentor can also help you, point you in the right direction. Should I contact a SCORE mentor to help me with a marketing plan?
Yes. You know what? I am not a SCORE employee. I am a big proponent of SCORE. I've been working with SCORE for a whole lot of years, and I'll brag for them. They have helped some really big name companies start businesses, ongoing help. Vera Bradley, most women know what Vera Bradley is, but going all the way back, it's just what can be. I have really good friends who have a small manufacturing business, and they were like, okay, they had some questions and I was helping, and I'm like, I don't know. And I gave them the name of a SCORE mentor I knew in DC, because I just knew him from, meeting. And he's still 6 years later, and they're in California, he's in DC. They talk to him like once every other week. And if there's a problem, they call him, and the owners here will tell me, or tell you, they'll tell anybody, they could not have gotten through the pandemic without the advice of their SCORE mentor. I think SCORE mentors it's just so great. You get really good advice for free. Like, what's better than that?
That's right, Riva. And SCORE is here for the life of your business, whether you're starting, your business, you're in business, you're looking to grow your business. SCORE is there for the life of your business. So request a mentor. I will put that link again just to have it there for you. SCORE.org/find-mentor. You can request your mentor there. And the great thing is we're virtual right now, so you can find a mentor anywhere and you'll get the help that you need. So it looks like those are all the questions I have. Riva, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Peter. This was really fun. And again, if anybody has any questions, just let me know. And I'll see you next month. April 13th.
See you next month. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.